in one area, we have something that is a Broken Hill type deposit, and I think it's probably got us the most excited because those tend to be significant in size.
The Financial Survival Network. Now more than ever. The Financial Survival Network.
Welcome. You are watching and listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and we are getting back to you with an update from our sponsor, Norden Crown Metals. We've talked with CEO Pat Varus on a number of occasions, and he's recently, Pat, you've recently completed a financing. We wanted to touch base with you and find out where the company is heading, the latest developments, what we can look forward to, both as interested parties and as shareholders, which I am. And so, Pat, just briefly, because you might not be familiar with Norden Crown Metals, but Pat, you've had 34 years experience, probably 35 now. I probably should update my notes in mining. And obviously there was something about Norden Crown that attracted you and made you want to get involved. What was that?
Well, I've been doing a lot of exploration all over the world, and I had worked with a previous company. We had drilled projects in Scandinavia and Sweden. And I realized that it's a great jurisdiction. It's a fantastic place to work. There's access everywhere. There's roads. You don't in Canada, for example, we have to do everything with helicopters because it's such a vast country. But we don't have the infrastructure that you have in a place like Sweden. You have everything that supports the mining industry. You have something like 6 smelters in the region. A long history of mining. You have cheap power. They have a lot of hydroelectric power as well as nuclear power, and so it's a place that because it does have a mining history. There's lots of mines and good mining districts, and the areas that Norden Crown has are indeed in a couple of these great districts. We're in the Gumsberg metallogenic belt, which is full of polymetallic mines. They're run by big companies. Zinc Rubin is run by Lundin, and Garpenberg is run by Boliden, and so there's a fantastic prospectivity. The other thing is that there are multiple, hundreds of small workings, pits, and old mines that were mined. We're talking 1,000 years ago, since the 1200s, and the Vikings were mining there for silver, and a lot of the minerals like zinc weren't recognized because there was no use for zinc until the late 1700s or 1800s. So there's a lot of mines there that need exploration. Many of them haven't seen any modern methods, and deeper drilling to look and see if some of these surface deposits continue at depth. So I thought the prospectivity was fantastic. We went in there and picked up some what I think are very high quality VMS projects. And in one area, we have something that is a Broken Hill type deposit. And I think it's probably got us the most excited because those tend to be significant in size. The other project we have is in Norway, and it's a copper project. It's an iron oxide copper gold deposit. We're doing that in a joint venture with Boliden. And so, in today's economy, boy, copper is really an up and coming metal, and everybody's excited about copper. Obviously, it has so many industrial uses, and if we're going to electrify, obviously we're going to need to have a lot of copper, and the copper supply demand picture is looking very good too for new explorers and new deposits. as the old mines are starting to wind down, or they're becoming lower grade and more expensive to operate. So that's some of those are some of the main reasons I got involved. I really like the projects. A lot of them are high grade, and they're very underexplored. So I think there's potential for new discoveries and new development of mines.
And the jurisdictions you're dealing in, you wouldn't think of Scandinavia, of Sweden, Norway being favorable mining jurisdictions, but in fact, the contrary is true. They're very welcoming jurisdictions, aren't they?
Absolutely. And they're the great thing about working in Scandinavia too is that your security of title, those types of things. The law, the mining law, is long established. They do have some very significant mines. The largest produced underground iron mine in the world is in Sweden, in the Kiruna mine. They have some large copper deposits, like in Aitik. It's a big open pit, and but the rules are very, they're very set, and I like the way they operate. You have procedures that are in place. If you want a permit, permitting is it's a very set process, and it doesn't take like a year like in other jurisdictions. Permitting a drill program could take a long time, but here, I think from the moment you apply, you're looking at about 6 weeks, and you should get your permits. We've carried out already. I'm going to say probably about 8 different drill programs since we started working in Sweden, and really we've been only there since 2018. So that just tells you how available it is to do exploration.
Well, that's really good, and I think what you're hinting at here is that when you're dealing in a jurisdiction like Scandinavia, you get something you can't get in other jurisdictions, and that's certainty. Certainty that if you follow the rules, you're going to get permits, and if you comply with the regulations, you're going to move ahead. And often there's a lot of places in the world where you just never know up until the last minute till you get that permit in your hands, and even then maybe there's a change of government and that could be in jeopardy. But in case of Scandinavia, rule of law applies, and hard and fast mining rules and regulations. So what's expected of you, and you're not caught flat-footed. So zinc appears to be like an up-and-coming metal. I personally have been following the development of zinc-air batteries for many years because they're so promising, because cost-wise, efficiency-wise, energy-wise, they're far superior to any other alternative out there economically. And if we want all these cars to be running on electric, we need copper, but we need reliable batteries that are economically feasible and make sense. So what's your take on the whole zinc-air batteries and development in that area?
Yeah, I like zinc. I'm bullish on zinc. I think it's the type of metal. It's a bit of a sleeper. A lot of people don't pay attention to it. I think simply because they don't realize just how important it is, because it's in everything, in everyday life. When we're talking about infrastructure, for example, we're right now, a lot of infrastructure development is happening in Africa, in South America. China, of course, is a big infrastructure developer. The U.S. is talking about, trillions of dollars in new infrastructure that is trying to be passed in the, to be approved for being financed. So, when you think about zinc, you're gonna need galvanizing, and that's the biggest part of, galvanized steel is going to be a big portion of all of that infrastructure building that's going to go on. And so the need for zinc is not decreasing. It's like I said, I'm very bullish, but everybody also talks about the electrification, and energy and so on and so forth. zinc is used in galvanizing, like the towers in turbines, for example, for windmills. But, if you want to talk about the biggest problem with electrification is storage, because when you have wind power, solar power, anything that is not consistent, if you have a cloudy day, your energy is not going to be great with a solar panel. If there's no wind, your windmills are not going to work, right? So you have to be able to store that energy somewhere. And so that when that's happening, then the energy that's being stored can be used. And like you said, the zinc-air batteries, they're a huge solution. They're much cheaper, like 3 times cheaper than things like the lithium batteries, and they're not as dangerous. They don't explode. They're not restricted by size. And in fact, the bigger you make them to store more energy, the cheaper it becomes. So I'm a big believer that, once this happens, the electrification of, we're going to have lots of these zinc batteries. And so I believe that, like I said, people are not paying attention yet to zinc, but I think I'm very bullish. I think along the way, we're going to need it. And obviously our projects, the ones in Sweden, in the Gumsberg area, those are very, very rich in zinc. I think that I think we're staring at some deposits that could potentially provide a huge amount of zinc.
Zinc is a crucial element. For those of you out there, you might not be familiar with the fact that modern rebar today, that's the stuff that supposed to hold up buildings, maybe not so much in Miami Beach. Rebar is all galvanized steel. You can't make galvanized steel without zinc. It's essential. So all modern structures built today use galvanized steel, and all highways as well last much longer if they use galvanized steel rebar. So that combined, and it's been increasing several percent a year, consumption of zinc, totally under the radar. And yet we're going to reach a point, just like we have with copper, where we just don't have enough of the stuff because, Pat, I'm sure you'll agree, base metal mining sector, with the exception perhaps of copper a little bit, has been underinvested for decades. They've relied on big projects that are running out of, their lifespan is coming to an end, and you got to have new sources, new supplies. So there could be a lot of it there in your projects, right?
Yeah, well, there's a huge underinvestment in exploration, particularly for base metals. There's a lot of people that have gone to gold and precious metals, and I think one of the things that I like about our deposits is that they do have a precious metal component. We do have silver that occurs a lot together with these zinc projects. So we do have an attraction to our project and for funds because we do have a bit of a bit of silver, but the zinc is has been very ignored by the markets. But I think there will be a time pretty quick here when things are not going to be so rosy. A few years back, a couple of the larger mines in Africa shut down for zinc production, and that's when we saw a bit of an increase in zinc prices. Because when you get rid of one of these mines, you could be getting rid of 10 to 12% of the world's production. And then, where does that come from if you don't have new mines coming on stream?
Yeah, very important to always be building reserves, at least keep the reserves constant, keep them stable. And we're seeing them decline in virtually every base metal and strategic metal out there. So, summer drill program, what have you got planned for the summer?
Well, so interestingly enough, in one of our projects, the copper project up in Norway, we've been working on getting some new permitting to go back drilling. I just received news that I think the permits are going to come out pretty quick. And when I mean permitting over there, it's more about road access because we have to be mindful of the reindeer herders activity in the summer when they move the herds around. And so we need to be mindful of that. So you do need permitting for road access and all that. So it sounds like that could be coming out pretty quick. And so there is a possibility that we could be drilling in the next 3 weeks, I believe. So that would be a very exciting development, because I think we're planning to do at least, I believe, a 5,000 meter program. And that's obviously to look at our iron oxide copper gold joint venture with Boliden. And so we're pretty excited about that. And we're making preparations to get crews together and make sure that we did talk to the drilling contractor, and I believe he says he can be there within the next 3 weeks. So that would be the first thing that we'll be doing. And but later this summer, we're going to be working at the Gumsberg project, which is our lead zinc project, where we discovered a Broken Hill type mineralization where you have lead, zinc, and silver, and in some really attractive thicknesses, really good grades. And so ideally we want to get back there. And really, we've only drilled 3 holes into it, but we think that there's potential for us to step out now and start building some tonnage. And so we're very excited about that. So that is probably going to happen later in the summer, because we have to do a bit of, we're starting to send some crews in there to do some field mapping, some geological mapping, some geological sampling. And we want to organize a small, an airborne magnetic survey, so that we can maybe have a better control on where to target our drill holes. And then after that's carried out, we're going to be going in there and drilling, I'm going to say towards the end of the summer. Okay.
So go over to the company website. That's Norden Crown Metals. That's Norden crownmetals.com, and sign up for notifications. So you'll find out the latest information when it's released. The ticker symbols in the good old US of A, it's NORCF. In Frankfurt Exchange, it's O3E. And in Canada, it's NOCR. Pat, really appreciate you coming on. And if you got any questions for Pat, send me an email to kl@kerrylutz.com. I'll make sure you get your answer. Pat, we'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you so much, Kerry.
The Financial Survival Network.